Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be checking out why Frieren and Apothecary Diaries took over anime. Now, I did read Frieren, but I only watched, I think, the first season of Frieren, and I didn't watch the rest, so I'm mostly going to be speaking from the manga perspective. And for Apothecary Diaries, I did watch the first two seasons. I didn't watch the third one, though. I am waiting for it to finish. I think it's finished, so I might check it out soon. But either way, I just wanted to give you some upfront, like this is where I am at for these two shows. And as for how much anime I have consumed over 1,000 anime at this point in my life. So it's not like it's something new to me, which is whether it's a fortunate thing or an unfortunate thing, I'm not really sure yet. But I have watched a lot, and I didn't watch like just shonen anime or just shoujo. I watched everything. So if you're curious about what I watched specifically and what I dropped, then you can go ahead and check out my anime list. It's linked in my channel description in the links part of the spiel. You'll know what I mean. Anyway, so let's check this out. And if you do enjoy this video, then make sure to support the original video. And if you enjoy my reaction to it, then be sure to give it a like, comment below, subscribe, and share, okay?
As anime production ramped up over the past decade, the amount of shows available to us has increased significantly. Unfortunately, the quality of anime in general doesn't really correlate with how much of it is being released. The amount of nothing burger shows per season also went up. Sometimes, it's difficult to find a new, quality anime in the sea of generic isekais and trashy rom-coms, apart from the buoys of battle shonen that inevitably rise up to the top. There tends to be at least one or two good shows per season whose source material I've never read or know that much about, that truly wow me and leave an impression. Even when I find a show that meets these criteria, they usually stick around for just a season before disappearing, like a flash in the pan, leaving me wondering when season 2 is coming out, or if season 2 would ever come out. Rarely do all the stars align during an anime season, and I'm introduced to a brand new anime that I've never really looked into, that consistently looks great, has a strong and unique narrative, isn't a battle shonen, and goes on for more than one season. But this past anime season,
I do have to say though that one of the recent changes that I've been enjoying, at least when it comes to the, like, out of all the trash anime that we've been getting in like bunches and a lot, the gems that we do see, a lot of them are actually ones that do have female protagonists that are actually very good role models for people. And that's something that I've been enjoying, because you don't really see that, or you haven't really seen much of that back when I was in middle school or high school. Like, you might see it in like seinen shows or in like very niche or very underrated gems. You might see those, but not really something that you'd see in mainstream. So, and I'm not saying that I dislike anime that has male protagonists. I watched over 1,000. I don't think I give a darn about whether it's a male or female, but it is something I appreciate when I do notice that some mainstream animes that are popular amongst people have female protagonists who actually do make good role models in most of the cases, or at least are way more than just a 2D character. They're a lot more fuller in personality and depth.
The cosmos answered my prayers, and I was gifted with two shows that I haven't stopped obsessing about over the past 6 months: Frieren, Beyond Journey's End, and Apothecary Diaries. Despite these two shows not really being related to each other, they both left an extremely strong impression on me for the same reason. For some time, I wasn't able to pinpoint why I enjoyed these shows so much. What about these adaptations were so good, and why did they leave such a strong impression on me and millions worldwide? To simply put it, this is the power of having extremely strong female leads.
Yes! Hey, it's just what I said.
Frieren's the anime that's taken over the internet over the past 6 months, and for good reason. Even if you haven't watched Frieren, you've definitely seen this silly looking elf either vibing or annihilating her opponents, with a stone cold expression on her face, supplemented with some of the most impressive animation you've ever seen. Frieren immediately separated itself from the pack of uninteresting fantasy anime that bog each seasonal list by simply not being an isekai, and also not centering around some overpowered main character whose quest it is to take down the almighty Demon King, a premise we've seen over 5 million times. While Frieren is quite strong and there is technically a Demon King within the story of Frieren doesn't really focus on that. What makes it so good is the fact that Frieren's already a legendary mage that's lived for over 1,000 years, yet the story focuses on the relationships she's trying to forge with humans, relationships she hadn't actively been focusing on since, as enough, they'd all seem like fleeting moments to her. Even though Frieren scoured the world to increase her knowledge on magic, was trained by the person who founded humanity's magic, and is known as the mage who's slain the most demons ever, she still seemed hollow due to the solitude that comes with being an elf. Her unique unique journey is kicked off once she has to bid farewell to the hero she journeyed with when she
Oh
took down the
man,
Demon King in a mere 10 years
the
in her
romance
eyes, and
that
she
could
comes
have
to realize that
happened.
she truly loved him and the moments she spent with her party. The regret that ensues after she realizes that she didn't cherish her moments with her squad while she was experiencing them is indeed heartbreaking, but it effectively sets up a really interesting journey for Frieren, a journey to create bonds with other humans and not disregard them because they'll be gone quickly in her eyes. I've never seen an anime take this route with such a powerful, basically immortal character, and I was quickly enthralled to see Frieren explore this vast land and pick up companions on the way.
Actually, there was I forgot the manga name, but there was one where this guy uh, essentially became an elf. I think it's an isekai one, but it was actually pretty decent in the sense that he was trying to grapple with the fact that he was now immortal, and he was journeying and trying to explore and do different things, and he tries to appreciate the present as much as he could, even though, he's not going to. He's living so long to the point that technically those should be fleeting moments. In some ways, it's kind of like the opposite of Frieren. She's learning how to enjoy the present and be with those who are human who don't have as much of a long lifespan. But the manga that I read, the guy already has an understanding because he used to be human. And I thought that was a very interesting contrast between the two. Obviously, Frieren follows a female protagonist who's an elf since birth, but this manga was following an ex-human male elf guy who is starting to understand like his identity as an elf. Both of them covered very sensitive and complex topics, but at the same time, they showed the presentation of it very distinctly, which makes both series very interesting. I just wish I can remember what it's called. So if you kind of know what I'm talking about, then please let me know in the comments, because I'm kind of curious how much they updated on that or if it was dropped by the translators.
From her now daughter that basically has to take care of her, Fern, to the greatest scaredy cat warrior we've ever seen in Stark. The best parts of Frieren aren't even the fights for me. The best parts of Frieren are the moments Frieren spends with her party, casually walking around, exploring new areas, and bonding over their shared experiences. Time progression is handled really well in Frieren, and it's refreshing to see main characters spend extended amounts of time at different locations, no matter how insignificant they may seem at first glance. These locations are brought to life with the different interactions Frieren has within them, with many of them reminding her of her journey that she went on with Hero Himmel so many years ago. Through these interactions, Frieren's able to find the true meaning behind her party members' words, words that she wasn't able to properly digest back then as her view on relationships was very different. Although it's heartbreaking to see Himmel, who we know is now a bag of bones, speak to Frieren with such affection and try to expand her view on different things while she just sits there with a stone face, I got rewarded by seeing Frieren teach those lessons she learned to Fern and Stark. It's really cool seeing Frieren come to realizations about things that humans find pretty normal. Things like holding someone's hand when they're sick to comfort them, or telling someone you're proud of them may be very normal for us, but for an elf like Frieren, she hadn't really considered why we do these things. It really hammers home how different elves are from humans and how their views brought by their long lifespans clash with that of humans. One of my favorite examples of this is the acceleration of magic proficiency in humans compared to elves. Though having a long lifespan may seem like a huge advantage for elves, we see how humans having a relatively short time to live drives them to innovate and grow far faster than elves. And Frieren herself sees the results of these innovations for humanity's magic as centuries pass by. Frieren, despite being such a ridiculously proficient mage, would only be rivaled by humans for this very fact. Even the way Frieren approaches magic is entirely different from the great mage elf, Ciri. Due to her experience with Flam, her party, and Fern, Frieren's view on magic isn't as individualistic, and she's more of a flow raiser for others than she is a solo magic mauling machine.
Oh my gosh.
This is best seen in her favorite spell, which isn't some insane beam of destruction I know she's capable of creating, but a spell to create a beautiful field of flowers. Even amongst her own race, she stands out because of this attitude, and it's what makes so much of this journey so satisfying. Frieren's relationship with her companions is such a pure and unique dynamic as both sides learn from each other. Frieren teaches Fern and Stark about magic and the world they live in since she has so much experience in it, and Fern and Stark teach Frieren about cherishing small gestures that humans hold in high regard so that Frieren can appreciate both her past journey and her current one.
I think what I appreciate the most is that it feels very grounded. Like when we watch anime, like especially for shonen anime as an example, it's very clear cut. Like timeline wise, progression wise, you can kind of feel it, but it feels like time goes by pretty fast and you don't really feel the time, if that makes sense, within the world. But with Frieren, we actually experience and can feel the time a lot more apparent compared to other series. And that's one of the things I really appreciate, because it makes you think about, like, oh, maybe I should stop and look around, just like Frieren. Obviously, that's something that you should already be doing as a healthy thing, but for most people, I think Frieren is a good example or a reminder that you should appreciate your current time and take your time. There's nothing, I mean, yes, you should speed up a little bit because that's human, that's a human behavior since we don't live long. But maybe there is a good thing in slowing down and focusing on the people around you and, you know, showing your affection for them or talking to them more or learn from them, even if you think that you won't learn anything from them.
Constantly trying to learn to get better with sensing and dealing with emotion, and although she may sometimes seem cold with her words, it's very easy to see that she simply doesn't understand why a human would get upset over something. Her party members were well aware of this back then and constantly tried to teach her, and even though their lessons didn't exactly bear fruit back then, they're finally having an effect. Like at the end of the
That's
season,
true.
when Frieren goes out of her way to try to fix Fern's shattered staff. She may not have understood why Fern was attached to this staff, basically a replaceable piece of wood, at the beginning of her journey, but she's slowly picking up on why humans are sentimental when it comes to such objects. The staff isn't simply an object, but a reminder of Heiser for Fern, a reminder that she dearly needs since Heiser is now gone. This combination has led so many people to connect with Frieren and see it as being way more than a flashy magic fight-filled anime, and more of a truly
That's
beautiful
true.
journey thanks to the phenomenal main character.
Yes, Apothecary
the
Diaries.
lesser known of the two, sprung onto the scene the same time Frieren did, although it didn't have nearly the amount of initial hype Frieren had since it wasn't as flashy of a project compared to it. I was immediately drawn towards Apothecary Diaries because of the setting. As a huge Kingdom fan, I love seeing anime that focus on Imperial China, and even in that niche, Apothecary Diaries stood out since it didn't focus on the great battles that were fought during that time period, and more on the complex politics that go on within the Forbidden City of China. My first impression of Apothecary Diaries was that it was just a silly little series about a genius apothecary named Maomao, who's surrounded by idiots who know nothing about medicine, and she has to do her own heroics in order to save the bloodline of the emperor so that he may have an heir. Don't get it twisted, I liked Maomao immediately, but that was mainly because of her personality when it comes to being a hopeless drug addict or medicine enthusiast, and she seemingly didn't give a damn about anything else but that. I would have enjoyed Apothecary Diaries plenty if it was just Maomao using her apothecary knowledge to solve medical issues within the rear palace, but as time went on, the scope of Apothecary Diaries expanded, and Maomao's attitude shifted as she found herself having to navigate the murky waters within the rear palace. Before I knew it, Maomao the apothecary had turned into Maomao the detective, except she didn't have any of the authority an actual detective would have. All she had were her wits and Jinshi, a powerful figure within the rear palace that could get Maomao into situations she wanted to be in, so that both of them could mutually benefit. It was cool seeing Maomao solve cases that seemingly had nothing to do with medicine, with skills she picked up as an apothecary, and her attitude of discarding the nonsense superstition that often floated around back then, with cold, hard facts that were discovered via careful investigation, was refreshing, especially after seeing so many characters chalk up easily explainable events to magic or something. What made Apothecary Diaries really stand out to me is how it combined these cases with the politics of the palaces and focused on.
I think one of the best types of stories is when they can actually mesh what they want to present as the story with the actual world. Because in most cases, the story might be really good, but it doesn't mean that the world itself is fully filled out and meshing completely well with the story that's being given. But Apothecary Diaries does a very good job of meshing it, which is why the politics and the cases can mesh together so well.
Maomao standing within it. She's not someone from an esteemed bloodline and is a rather plain-looking person, and it's all completely intentional. Maomao's extremely aware of how she can be easily discarded if she makes a mistake, such as wrongfully accusing an official, and her lack of worth in the grand scheme of things is highlighted through various elements in Apothecary Diaries. First of all, Maomao's a straight-up poison tester for one of the concubines within the rear palace. This role is basically a death sentence to those who aren't proficient with detecting poison, like Maomao is, and during this time period, it's safe to say no one was really at that level. Off-rip, it's apparent that Maomao's seen as someone who can be easily discarded, as her job presents the possibility of her losing her life because someone sprinkled a little something into the rice. You'd think someone in this position would keep their head low and carry on, and on the surface, that's exactly what Maomao does. Even though she has plenty of knowledge about different mysteries, people, and medicine, she never really explicitly tells anyone all of this information until it's absolutely required for them to know. Even Jinshi, someone who's repeatedly been shown to be extremely trustworthy and acts in Maomao's best interests in the shadows and actually treats her like a person, well, mostly like a person, doesn't know half the information that's lodged inside of Maomao's brain. However, when no one's looking, Maomao's always investigating and trying to get to the root cause behind certain events without outright going up to people and accusing them. She's well aware that
That's
she's
true.
constantly risking her life by helping with these investigations, and directly accusing officials, even those she knows are horrible people, would end in her own death. She shrewdly gets information she desires without directly asking for it. For example, one episode she tries to figure out where seaweed was sourced so that she can figure out why a victim fell into a coma. She doesn't tell people to go investigate the South, even though that's what her hunch tells her. Instead, she says, "It would be great if you could figure out where this is from." And this kind of indirect questioning is Maomao's expertise, and through it, she's able to get the information she desires without necessarily being the one issuing the orders. It's brilliant. Even then, when Maomao needs to spring into action, she's willing to sacrifice herself just so that she doesn't piss off the wrong people, or if she wants someone to act in a certain way at her own expense.
But if you think about it, you have to be like that or else you'll die. Like, there's no question. Like, if you're in that kind of time period, regardless of what, I guess, country you're in, you have to have the wits and be able to, like, imply, like, read between the lines and imply things for others to pick up in order to survive. Or else you're probably gonna die eventually.
I've seen her get slapped and mentally tell herself this was supposed to happen and offer to be executed in place of a guard so she can stop a ceremony. She's constantly gambling her own life in various situations and takes advantage of being able to read people really well, so that even if she is risking her own life, the odds that she'll actually go kaputs are pretty low since she has people dancing along to her tune. She even
That's
managed
true.
to get a master strategist to lose a board game he excelled at simply by adding a rule to the game that said that the loser of each match would have to take a shot of potentially poisoned alcohol. Since the strategist didn't want Maomao dead and Maomao knew he was a lightweight, he ended up losing the bout due to not being sober after intentionally losing a match to save Maomao's life. At least that's what he thought. In reality, the alcohol wasn't really poisoned, and Maomao was expertly able to get the strategist to do her bidding without her even winning the initial challenge. This isn't even accounting for Maomao's traumatic past, which she never really tells anyone. Raised in a brothel, abused by her own mother, Maomao's been through it all, yet she doesn't get frustrated about it and keeps moving forward. She still suffers, but quietly. She doesn't bother with love because she believes she left it behind in the womb of the woman who birthed her, and she constantly talks about how it's a miracle she's even made it this far due to her lowly birth. She's honestly been such a breath of fresh air when it comes to main characters in general, and her attitude is so different from what we usually see with female characters in anime, and I absolutely
That's true.
adore it. It's been so much fun watching both Frieren and Maomao embark on their journeys over the past 20 plus episodes, just like how
I do have to say that I thought Apothecary Diaries really stood out because I first noticed it as a manga and read it. By the time there was only like 20 chapters, and unfortunately that's not really enough. So I was really disappointed it wasn't updated for such a long time. So I pretty much thought that it was like pretty much the end of it. But when I noticed that it became manga, I was like, or no, anime, I was so excited. And it ended up being a very good adaptation, and I'm really happy that we can experience it through anime, even if I can't really read it as a manga. I mean, maybe they've updated it now, but I don't have time anymore as much to read manga all the time. But it's those kinds of series that stand out to me where the female leads are strong and the story isn't so focused on romance. So even if it does have romance, it's like a side thing, just like in shonen anime. And it makes it a lot more accessible for both genders, since I know some males actually do consume a lot of romance stuff, but for the most part a lot of people don't, which is why series like Frieren and Apothecary Diaries is so important, because it shows that it has nothing to do with the gender of the character. It has to do with the ability to create a story that is good, and whether the protagonist ends up being male or female doesn't matter. As long as the story is good, everyone will consume it and enjoy it.
Hope you had a good time watching this video. If you like this kind of content, feel free to like and subscribe. Frieren and Maomao truly are the stars of their shows, and I hope we get more shows like Apothecary Diaries and Frieren breaking into the mainstream like they did, and show the anime community the power of really good female main characters. Although, hoping for a Frieren level production for multiple shows might just be a pipe dream. As anime production
Oops, I accidentally restarted it. But I agree. I do think that if more series like Frieren and Apothecary Diaries became more mainstream, then perhaps there would be more of a balance of what we would see. Unfortunately, a lot of people like the type of anime where it's mostly male protagonists are aura farming. Nothing wrong with that. I enjoy slop too. It's not like I just watch only stories that are amazing. I just watched anything back in the day. And I still sometimes do when I'm too tired and stressed, because sometimes you just don't want to watch something that's stressful. But the good thing about Frieren and Apothecary Diaries is that it's not so stressful to the point that you would be feeling that stress immensely while watching. And that's also another benefit for those shows. But I do wonder if we got more of those types in mainstream, if mainstream would have a lot more variety at that point, regardless of whether the protagonist is male or female. It's an interesting topic, and I do enjoy both series a lot, so it's nice to see that people enjoy good female leads whenever it does happen and appear. Just like how we all enjoy good male leads too. Right? Any case, if you enjoy watching this video, then make sure to support the original video. And if you enjoyed my reaction to it, then make sure to give it a like, comment below, subscribe, and share. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.